Good day everyone, and welcome to where we are putting together solutions to those math and science problems that students are encountering. In this video, we'll be looking at CSEC Mathematics, and specifically the topic of Consumer Arithmetic, which came in the past paper questions from May 2009 until 2013. Feel free to like the video and add any comments down below so we can help create other videos that will assist you in your understanding of the topic. Don't forget to look at the description down below where we have outlined the order we suggest to go through the entire CSEC math syllabus, all the topics with all the solutions from May 2009 until the present. Let's recap the 10 major topics in CSEC Mathematics, and this video looks at topic number 2, Consumer Arithmetic. This question comes in section 1 of paper 2. This topic comes as 8 multiple choice questions in paper 1 out of 60. And in paper 2, it combines with the first topic, number theory and computation, as one whole question worth 9 marks. This topic includes profit and loss, hire purchase, interest, appreciation and depreciation, rates and taxes, utilities, shopping bills, and wages. This topic comes every year as number 1 from the years 2009 until 2013. May 2009, number 1B. The basic wage earned by a truck driver for a 40-hour week is $560. What that means is that without any overtime, his normal wage for the week will be that value. Part 1. Calculate the hourly rate. We can work this out as a simple ratio. If for the entire week he works 40 hours, that is equal to $560 wages. So for 1 hour, it will be 560 divided by 40. As such, his hourly rate works out to be $14 per hour. For overtime work, the driver is paid 1.5 times the basic hourly rate. Part 2. Calculate his overtime wage for 10 hours of overtime. So if we're working out the overtime wage, that will be the overtime rate times whatever his normal hourly rate is, multiplied by how many hours he worked. So let's substitute. Overtime wage is equal to 1.5 times 14, which we worked out in part 1, times how many hours did he work overtime in part 2? 10 hours. And that gives us an overtime wage of $210. Part 3, last part of the question. Calculate the total wages earned by the truck driver for a 55-hour week. So for a normal week, he works 40 hours. And if he's working 55 hours for this particular week, it means he's working 15 hours overtime. So we know his wage for the 40 hours, but we need to work out his overtime wage for this 15 hours. So let's do the same working as we did in part 2. Overtime wage is overtime rate times hourly rate times the number of hours worked. And if we substitute 1.5 times 14, that's the hourly rate, times 15 hours. And that gives us an overtime wage of $315. As such, his total wage is equal to the weekly wage plus his overtime wage. And if we substitute, it's going to give us 560 plus 315, which works out to be a total wage of $875. May 2010, number 1B. Mrs. Jack bought 150 t-shirts for $1,920 from a factory. Part 1. Calculate the cost of one t-shirt. So we can equate that 150 t-shirts which Mrs. Jack bought, she paid $1,920. So the cost of one t-shirt by simple ratio would mean we want to carry the 150 across. So that will be 1,920 divided by 150. As such, the cost of one t-shirt works out to be $12.80 Mrs. Jack paid the factory. The t-shirts are sold at $19.99. Calculate, in part 2, the amount of money Mrs. Jack received after selling all of the t-shirts. So if she sold one t-shirt for $19.99 and she sold all 150 t-shirts, that will be $19.99 times 150, and that works out to be $2,998.50. Just use our calculators to get a quick answer. Calculate, in part 3, the total profit made. So the profit made would be her selling price, whatever she sold it for, minus her cost price, whatever she bought it for initially, which was $2,998.50 minus $1,920. And it shows that our profit works out to be $1,078.50. Last part of the question, part 4. The profit made as a percentage of the cost price, giving your answer correct to the nearest whole number. So percentage profit would be equal to the profit made compared to the cost price multiplied by 100. And if we substitute from part 3, the profit is $1,078.50 over $1,920, which is our cost price, by 100. And that gives us 56.17%. And let's look back at what part 4 asked us for. They ask us for the profit as a percent to the nearest whole number. So if it's the nearest whole number, notice we have the 6 in a different color. So that means we either want to end up with 56% or we go to 57%. So we look at the number to the right of the 6, that's 0.1. So that means it's closer to 56%. May 2011, number 1B. The table below shows Pamela's shopping bill. Some of the information was not included. So if we look at the table, we can see items, quantity, the unit price for each item, and the total cost. And if we come downwards, we'll see that when we worked out rice, potatoes, and milk, they gave us a subtotal. And we're missing how much VAT, or what percentage of VAT that is being charged, and we know the grand total. So calculate the values of W, X, Y, and Z. Let's look at calculating the total cost of rice, W. So what do we know? We know that the unit price, which is for 1 kilogram of rice, is $2.40. And how much did we buy? We bought 6.5 kilograms. So 6.5 kilograms would be 240 times 6.5, which works out using our calculator to be $15.60. So we've worked out W. Now let's work out X, dealing with potatoes. What do we know? We know 4 bags of potatoes worked out to be $52.80. So how much for 1 bag of potatoes? Well, we'll divide by 4 on the left-hand side, so we'll divide by 4 on the right-hand side. So it'll be $52.80 divided by 4, which works out to be $13.20 per bag. That's the unit price. Let's look at milk. And what do we know? We know the unit price is $2.35. So we can say $2.35 is equal to 1 carton of milk. And if we find for $1, then $1 will be 1 over 235. And we know we spent a total cost of $14.10. So for $14.10, that will be 1 over 235 times $14.10. So a simple ratio, and using our calculators, Y is equal to 6 cartons of milk. And for the last part, for part Z, the total cost of VAT would be Z percentage of the subtotal. And let's substitute what we know. We know the VAT cost is $9.90 is equal to Z percent is Z over 100 times what's our subtotal? $82.50, because we're charging VAT on the subtotal. And if you want to find Z alone on the right-hand side, let's carry across the 100, which is in the denominator, or dividing. So when you carry it across, it will multiply. And the $82.50 is multiplying on the right-hand side. When you carry it across on the left, it will divide. So it will be $9.90 times 100 all over $82.50. So Z works out to be 12%. As such, it's 12% VAT is being charged in this case. May 2012, number 1B. The table below shows the cost price, selling price, and profit or loss as a percentage of that cost price. Copy and complete the table inserting the missing values at 1 and 2. So if we look at the first row, what do we know? we know the cost price is $55. The selling price is $44. So we want to calculate the percentage profit or loss. Since the selling price is less than the cost price, it means that in this case there is a loss, and we want to calculate the percentage loss. That will be the loss over the cost price. That's the comparison. And since we want it as a percentage, we multiply by 100. And how do we calculate our loss? That will be the cost price, whatever we bought it for, minus the selling price, all over the cost price, times 100. And if we substitute, we're going to get 55 minus 44, all over 55 times 100. 55 minus 44 is 11. 11 into 55 is 5. 5 into 100 is 20%. As such, let's bring it up. In part 1, there was 20% loss that occurred. In part 2, we know the selling price is $100 and we made a profit of 25%. So what's the cost price? Since we made a profit, it means the cost price will be less than the selling price. There are a couple different ways to do this, just like every other question in math. We're going to use a comparison. Cost price is always considered to be 100%. And since we made a profit of 25%, it means the selling price is 125%. So we can equate that. 125% is equal to $100. So we change the question to a ratio question now. So 1% will be 100 over 125. And the cost price is for 100%. So that will be 100 over 125 times 100 as we multiply by 100 on both sides. And using our calculators, that works out that our cost price is $80. As such, $80 is less than the selling price. And if we look at it, what is quarter or 25% of 80? That's $20. So if we bought the item for $80 and we made a profit of $20, then the selling price is $100. So it makes sense logically. May 2012, number 1C. The table below shows rates of exchange. So in this foreign exchange question, what do we know? We know 1 US works out to be $2.70 Eastern Caribbean currency, and 1 TT is equal to 40 cents EC. Calculate the value of, in part 1, 1 EC in terms of TT. So we're going to do a conversion, and the simplest way to do foreign exchange would be using a ratio method. So what do we know? It's given that 40 cents EC is equal to 1 TT, and we can find for 1 EC. So 1 EC means that we're dividing by 40 cents on the left-hand side, so let's divide by 40 cents on the right-hand side, so it'll be 1 over 0.40. So 1 EC works out to be $2.50 TT. For every 1 Eastern Caribbean dollar, it can be converted to $2.50 GT. Part 2. Convert 80 US to EC. So if we look at what's given in the rows, that will help us in our first row because we have US and EC compared. So we can write that 1 US is equal to 270 EC. And if we want to find for 80 US, means we multiply by 80 on the left-hand side. So let's multiply by 80 on the right-hand side. And using our calculators, that gives us 216 EC. And as such, 80 US works out to be converted to 216 Eastern Caribbean currency. Part 3, last part of the question. Convert 648 TT in US. So let's look at the rows of information they gave us before. They gave us US to EC, and they gave us TT to EC. So we don't have from TT to US, which is what they want in part 3. But we can go about the route where we convert TT to Eastern Caribbean. And when we get EC, we can convert it to US. So let's do that first step. Let's convert 648 TT into EC. So we know from part 1 that 1 TT is 40 cents EC. So if we want to find for 648 TT, we multiply by 648 on the left-hand side. So we do the same on the right-hand side. And using our calculators, it shows that 648 TT gives us $259.20. Now that we've gotten the EC, we can now use our first row in the table above and convert EC to US. So let's write the ratio. 270 EC is equal to 1 US. So we can find for 1 EC. So we divide by 270 on the left-hand side. So we divide by 270 on the right-hand side. As such, 259.20 EC, which is how much we want to find, would be 1 over 270 times 259.20. And that works out to be 96 US. May 2013, number 1B. Smiley orange juice is sold in cartons of 2 different sizes at the prices shown in the table below. Carton size 350 ml costs $4.20, and for 450 ml, the larger size, it costs $5.13. Which size of the orange juice is the better buy? And justify your answer. So let's compare it using a ratio. 350 ml would be $4.20. So 1 ml, if we divide by 350 on the left-hand side, we do the same on the right-hand side, works out to be 0.012. And if we do the same thing for 450 ml, which is equal to 513, then 1 ml will be 513 over 450, which works out to be 0.0114. And if we compare the two of them, 0.012, let's add a 0 at the end, and compare it to 0.0114, let's compare the 120 to the 114. Clearly the 114 is cheaper. As such, the one on the right-hand side, the 450 ml size, is the better buy. Last part of the question, part C. Faye borrowed $9,600 at 8% per annum compound interest. Part 1, calculate the interest on the loan for the first year. So the interest will be 8% of P, the principal, which works out to be 8 over 100 times 9,600. The zeros cancel, so 8 times 96. That will give us $768 interest on her loan. At the end of the first year, she paid $4,638. Part 2. How much did she still owe at the beginning of the second year? So the balance, she borrowed $9,600 and there was an interest charge of $768, so we could add up all that. That will be how much she owed, and she paid $4,638, so we could subtract that. As such, her balance at the beginning of the second year works out to be, using our calculators, $5,730. And part 3, calculate the interest on the remaining balance for the second year. So interest is still 8% of the principal. Remember, this is a reducing balance. So the balance is no longer that she's owing $9,600, so there's no reason to charge 8% on that, but to charge 8% on the balance, which is 8% of $5,730. 8 over 100 times 5,730 works out to be $458.40. We've now come to the end of CSEC possible questions in the topic of consumer arithmetic for the years 2009 until 2013. In our next video, we'll be looking at the next 5 years from 2014 until 2018. Don't forget to look at the description down below, where we have outlined the order we suggest to go through the entire CSEC Math syllabus.